Hi.
Hi, I'm Cece.
And I'm Caspar.
Follow us on our adventures discovering new places.
We will be interviewing the business owners about their business.
We will also provide reviews on places we've gone and visited. And hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified on our next video. Thank you very much. The Midland Railway Workshops were built in 1904. The rolling stock and engines were built here for the Western Australian Government Railways. The maintenance was also performed here at the workshops until they were closed in April 1993 by Richard Court of the Liberal Party. The precinct where the workshops once stood has now been redeveloped, maintaining some of the old buildings, some of which have been used for other purposes. And just behind me we have examples of the workshops, and just over here we have a rail car and locomotive section, and just over here we have the pattern shop, which I'll be talking a little bit more about shortly. Here we are at the pattern workshop. The pattern shop was where they would store the various moulds that were used for the parts that were required for maintenance and also for building of the locomotives and rolling stock. There would be they would go here, collect the part that they wanted to replicate and to build, and then they would return it when they were done. There were many buildings that were used in the workshop areas. So over here we have the water tower, followed by the boiler room and the powerhouse area. As I was saying earlier, we have this building here, which is the locomotive and rail car section. And as we continue to walk around, there's a few other samples of buildings which I will tell you what they are as we get closer. This is inside of the locomotive and rail car building, taken from a little hole above the door. The building just to the right, here was a building where you had your main office for your various workers who were in charge of the foremans. As we continue around, down the back of the workshops where they used to extend down towards this way, we have the Curtin University. And down towards the back here, we have the back of the locomotive and rail car building. The building just to the right of the pattern shop was known as the foundry. This is where hot liquid was poured to make into the molds to make the various parts required for construction and maybe even maintenance when it was required.
Here we have the Chief Mechanical Engineer's office, which is where my mother worked as a stenographer or even a typist. And in the background you'll probably be able to hear a freight train. Although this freight train is diesel, and back in days when my mother worked here, it would have been possibly steam. You can imagine how noisy it must have been. And she enjoyed her job here, and she was lucky enough to meet my father. I'm not sure if they actually met at the workshops, as Mum didn't speak a lot about that. However, Neil did work at the workshops, and I have a few documentation of how he became a great engineer, and he was able to expand his knowledge of the railway and various other things by starting his apprenticeship here, like so many other people, so many other young men who started their apprenticeships in the Midland Workshops. I'm proud to be part of this historical building. I hope that in years to come my children will also be proud of my parents and grandparents who worked here, ancestors. So many people worked at the Midland Workshops. And opposite here we had the Midland Junction railway station. A lot of the employees would catch the train into work, as was so convenient. Not many cars in those days, so they catch the train, get off at the Midland Junction, and just simply walk across the railway line, or should I say the road, sorry, possibly even a dirt track, gravel road, and start their job wherever they were working. This is a memorial, maybe not so much a memorial wall, more a remembrance wall of those that wish to put a brick up on there here to be planted in history, those who were part of the railway workshops. Here's a little workers' wall. It's cool to come back and take a photo of that shortly. It's quite a few interesting little artifacts on it, and of course you've got a lot of names. So I highly recommend that if you've got family, ancestors who were part of the workshops, come down to the railway square in Midland and have a look and see if your ancestors' names are on the board on these brick walls. I know I've got some names that are related to me on these walls. There's quite a few, front and back. And that's say interesting little steel sculptures on them. The little bricks will state the name of the person and what they did at the workshops. So if you know the name but you don't actually know what they did, then who knows? you might find your ancestor's name on this list, on these brick walls. You can see it's quite large going down there. And up here, as in the the buildings and the workshops.
Here we are up at Bellevue. In June in 2021, the Labor government under Mark McGowan decided to bring manufacturing of railcars back to Western Australia. And this is the building which is going to build the new C-class trains for Western Australia, for Perth, and also the future Australand will also be built here in this plant. Here we go on another side of the metronet manufacturing. We have a new one of the new rail cars that have arrived under wraps. Just a shell waiting to be fitted out with all the electrical and all the sides. And as we continue down front, everything is all laid out in the aspects for testing and for construction. And just a little bit further down behind the fence here, we have another rail car under wraps, waiting to be constructed. Just down here we have another one of the buildings, which is not sure exactly what is done in this particular building. However, it is actually part of the manufacturing plant.